In London, the hunt is on to track down a tricky name.
The name is Gaukwadja, which clearly isn't from the UK, so we're seeing where it comes from, see if we can link anything together.
And the search for heirs to another estate unravels a family's hidden past.
A long time ago, I'd researched about our grandfather, and I couldn't find anything. It was as if Arthur Lupton Wheeler didn't exist.
It's all in a day's work for the heir hunters. Coming up, a poisonous British military secret that was kept under wraps for over 50 years.
They were in the 50s testing sarin gas. They put it on to this young RAF lad, 20, and he was dead within 45 minutes.
And the romance of early cinema is revealed.
Because he might be taken in by one of the lovely lady singers, you never know. Love might blossom.
In the London offices of heir hunting company Fraser & Fraser, manager Mike Powell is hot on the trail of heirs in a new case.
We've got a new Treasury job that's just come down, a lady called Valerie Gain, so I'm just writing out the details now.
The Lincolnshire market town of Grantham was home to retired teacher Valerie for many years. She was known as Val to her friends and was an incredibly vibrant lady.
Val had a very outgoing personality. She was friendly. She would like to be part of anything that was going on. She was always game for a laugh.
In the 1960s, she transformed one child's life by deciding to foster him and raise him as her own.
My first remembrance of Val was in Shirley Oaks Children's Home when I was about 7 or 8 years old. She used to come and take me out to children's homes to give me holidays like Easter, Christmas, summer holidays. We used to do so much. It was just a wonderful feeling. She gave me a chance in life.
Throughout every milestone in his life, she was there to love and support Robin.
When I said to Val I was getting engaged, and she was really over the moon. And then when I got married, she was obviously there at the wedding and enjoyed it immensely, and she was overjoyed that day. She loved it. She got 3 grandchildren. We used to go up to hers. She loved them as her own sons. She was always there if I wanted her, and we'd have good discussions. My boys used to ring up for help on English, maths, French, whatever, because she was a teacher and she was always there to help them. Over 50 years I've known that lady. Val to me was my mum. There's no ifs, no buts.
On the 17th of June 2013, Val sadly died, and no will was found. As Robin was not a blood relative or legally adopted by Val, he could not be declared her next of kin. So as no family were known, Val's estate was placed on the Treasury solicitor's list of unclaimed estates, where Mike and the team picked it up. The only information they have to go on is the date of Val's death, the fact that she was a widow, and that her maiden name was Hatton. Mike has already made some headway using Val's surname to search current electoral rolls.
Just found where she was living, and now I'm going to check to see if she owned a property, and then that'll give a rough idea of the value of the estate.
After running online searches of land registry documents, Mike discovers that Val's home is a council property, so it's looking like she did not leave a large estate behind. But Mike is still determined to track down her next of kin.
Best case, she saved loads of money and hid it under her bed.
For now, Mike feels it's worth pursuing, and he gets researcher Sinead on the case.
Just work it to near kin and see what we can find.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Using the information from the Treasury, Sinead searches for details of Valerie's marriage and finds a record that shows she married Andre Joff Douglas Gain in 1967. She follows this trail until...
I've just found her husband's death, which I've just printed. He dies in 85 in Hampshire. So I'm going to look a little bit further, see if maybe they had any children.
Sinead trawls through online birth records, looking for any children Val and Andre might have had. And Mike makes a call to one of the firm's travelling researchers to see if he can head off to Valerie's last known address and find out anything he can from her neighbours.
Right, deceased is a Valerie Hatton. She died 17th of June this year. See what you can find out down there. All right, mate. I've sent Brian to go and do some door knocking.
While Brian hits the road, in the office, researcher Sinead has been unable to locate any children for Val and Andre. So her next task is to look for possible brothers and sisters of Val as next in line to inherit. For that, she needs to find a record of Val's birth. But there's nothing coming up on any searches for the name Valerie Hatton.
I'm just going to try another search engine to see if maybe it's been mistranscribed.
Getting nowhere fast, the team have to try a different tack. According to Val's marriage certificate, her father was William Edward Hatton and an actor. So they decide to do some research on him. Val's old friend Janet was well aware of her parents' colourful background.
Val's mother and father were on the stage, so she told me. From knowing her, she must have inherited some of their theatrical tendencies because she was so good with the public. She enjoyed being the star, the performer, if you like.
As I grew up with her and stayed with her at times, I can remember she did something at the London Palladium, and I was dressed as a little boy, and I brought this tray of brushes on. And each night we did a couple of matinees and some shows. So I claim to fame, really, of being with her, of being on the London Palladium.
After some digging into Val's father, the team are in luck. They've uncovered a vital deed poll record showing that he changed his name to Hatton from Gaukroger in 1946.
The name is Gaukroger, which clearly isn't from the UK, so we're seeing where it comes from, see if we can link anything together. Could be from anywhere. It sounds Dutch. It could be South African. There's quite a few in New Zealand and Australia, so all over the place by the looks of it.
Surnames can unlock all sorts of secrets for a genealogist, including their country of origin.
Sometimes that surname is all we need to work out where we're going to be doing our research. Given a name like Schmidt, we're going to be looking in Germany. Given a surname like Thomas or Jones, we're going to concentrate in Wales. Just those very surnames mean where we're going to be spending our day, what we're going to be doing, and who's going to be researching it.
If Gaukroger is a foreign name, this could become a costly international hunt. And with the case looking like it's of little value, working it any further could be an expensive gamble. But the good news is, armed with Val's father's original name, the team can now look again for her birth.
I mean, I found some possible births.
And it's not long before Sinead comes up trumps.
Valerie was born in Prestwich in 1924.
This is good news for the heir hunters, as their search could still stay in the UK. But after sifting through more birth records in the area, the team have made an unexpected discovery.
It's an incredibly common surname in Prestwich. It just means our work's a lot harder.
It turns out that Gaukroger, rather than being a foreign name, is one that is most commonly found in Yorkshire and Lancashire. The team still need to establish whether Val had any brothers or sisters, and it's proving a tricky task.
But she seems to be an only child born over here, but depending on when her parents were married, depends on if there are any other siblings. So if I can locate the marriage, then hopefully, fingers crossed, and locate some other siblings. At the moment, it's not looking good.
But as Mike and the team plug away, there is some good news on how much the case could be worth.
Her husband left a reasonable amount in his probate, so I'm going to put that in, and hopefully it was all left to her, and then we can sort of estimate a value of the estate.
But if they don't find the heirs, all their work will be for nothing. Sometimes a call from an heir hunter can uncover family secrets that have been hidden for generations. Brothers Mark and Mikey received a call about their grandfather in May 2013.
I got this strange accented English voice saying, I'm looking for the grandson of Arthur Lupton Wheeler, the sons of Peter Wheeler. And I believe you are the oldest of 3 sons. In this moment, my heart jumped out of my chest, and I can still remember exactly that feeling because it's been with me for the last few months since that moment.
Mark had received the call from Phil Jennings, head of the South Wales division of heir hunting company Celtic Research, regarding the estate of their grandfather, Arthur Lupton Wheeler.
A long time ago, I'd researched about our grandfather, and I couldn't find anything. It was as if Arthur Lupton Wheeler didn't exist. Everyone seemed to know something, but no one knew anything. It was like an enigma, a mystery. But in that one moment, it was as if suddenly a prayer had been answered, that someone contacted me.
We've grown up as if we were another family.
In a sense.
In a sense.
But these questions have always been unanswered, and this is always a shadow in the past. We just believed, I believed, that he died many years ago. To find out that he died only 2 years ago is one of the biggest shocks, of many shocks, in the series of earthquakes.
Mark and Mikey's grandfather, Arthur Lupton Wheeler, died shortly before his 83rd birthday, on the 15th of October 2011, in Bristol. He left no known family and no will.
In amongst the initial research, we ordered Arthur's marriage certificate, and we found out from that he was a bombardier in the army.
The certificate revealed that Arthur had married divorcee Eileen Mary Richardson in 1950 at Dover Castle in Kent. He was 21 years old and at the start of a promising military career. Hungry to find out more about their enigmatic grandfather, the brothers are today starting their own journey of discovery. Using the information provided by Phil, they've come to take a look through Arthur's military records.
Okay, Arthur Lupton Wheeler.
Where does it say that?
Just up here.
Oh, Wheeler.
Okay, corpse.
This is his number. This was his army number. He signed up in York. You live in York. Mother English, father English, mother English. Sergeant Wheeler is a most intelligent and something individual. He has... Can you read that?
I can't read that. He has, correct.
Shaking too much.
During the past year, he
has been employed in
admin duties of a clerical nature from which
he appeared capable.
The heir hunters needed to establish if Arthur and Eileen had any children. Arthur's military records revealed that he had been posted to Hong Kong in 1952. The team were able to search through troopship passenger lists held by the National Archives to establish who travelled with him.
Passenger records that were found indicated that he did have two sons.
Through birth records, they were able to establish that one of the sons had come from Eileen's first marriage and was Arthur's stepson, and therefore not in line to inherit. The other son, Peter, was Mark and Mikey's father. Phil had found him listed on the passenger list as travelling to Hong Kong. But for the brothers, this part of their father's life is a mystery. Searching through Arthur's records begins to throw some light on it.
Hong Kong. 55. 3 years in Hong Kong. Service days 99. Home must be Britain. The record of service certainly seems to tally up with what we understood to the dates of when they were in Hong Kong. From 18th of June 1952 until the 24th of September 1955. I thought it was longer. And our father was born in 1951, so he would have been 1 year and 1 month, 2 months when they went to Hong Kong. So no wonder he didn't talk much about it.
Mark and Mikey always knew that their father had spent time in Hong Kong, but they'd never had any real knowledge of what happened out there. At the time when Arthur and his family were posted to Hong Kong, it was still an important strategic outpost. With one of the world's busiest ports, it was on important sea routes for Britain and the rest of the world.
In the 1950s, it's quite a significant garrison, maybe up to 10,000 service personnel, mainly based around a very, very significant Royal Navy component. But in terms of the British Army, you would have several battalions there, a brigade, or maybe even sometimes 2 brigades of troops for use across the area, as well as the defence of the colony itself. And you would have amongst those a significant number of Royal Artillerymen. And in particular, that might include units like the 27th Heavy Anti-Aircraft Regiment of the Royal Artillery, and they would be interested in things like manning coastal defence guns and also manning mobile 3.7-inch anti-aircraft guns.
On arrival, there would have been appropriate accommodation for Arthur and his young family.
Married quarters depended upon your rank, so as a sergeant, Arthur and his family would have had reasonably good quarters, aimed very much at allowing a nuclear family to exist and interact as it would in any other environment, but still very much part of a relatively inward-looking shared military environment.
Although Hong Kong would have been a popular posting, military family life in the colony could also be quite a challenge.
Whilst a husband might have been busily getting on with his daily routine, it would mean that the wife and children would have to build their own lives. There was a lot of support in doing that, but it could also, again, be quite intense and claustrophobic and quite lonely. So there was always that as a potential strain.
Arthur and Eileen returned from Hong Kong in 1955, but by the early 1960s, their marriage had ended in divorce. Arthur then disappeared from his family's life forever.
Nan was very bitter. My father was brought up to just respect her wish that he was never talked about.
Having found that Eileen and Arthur had divorced, Phil now knew that he needed to find their son, Peter.
I tried to find Peter on the electoral rolls, couldn't find anything recent, only old electoral rolls.
The team discovered that Peter had passed away in 1987, but that he'd had 3 sons, Arthur's grandsons. They needed to track them down and decided to try and follow the trail of Peter's wife. They found she'd remarried and changed her name. They then hit another brick wall, but determined not to give up, they turned to a specialist private investigator.
The PI came up with an obscure bit of information. Mark Royce that had written a letter about an obituary on the internet, and he sent it to me and says, could this possibly be the chap you're looking for? He happened to be in Vienna in Austria, and I rang him, and he confirmed, yes, he was the son of Peter Wheeler.
The heir hunter's persistence had paid off. The obituary notice that Mark had written for his father's death in 1987 had led straight to Arthur's 3 grandsons and heirs, Mark, Mikey, and their brother. Having discovered some of their grandfather's military past, the brothers are digging deeper into the records.
From 1950 until 53, he was very busy. Attended unit ammunition maintenance course at Hong Kong, for example, in 1953. Obtained 84%. That's quite high. He looked like he was a very good soldier. Attended course. He did a lot of courses.
As they begin to piece together a picture of their grandfather, they make a surprising discovery.
Discharged from the army. Medically unfit for army service. There. That's the reason for discharge.
Right.
Medically unfit for army service, but military conduct exemplary.
But as they struggle to find out why their grandfather's career was cut short...
That's the... No, this is attended course again. Oh, what's this?
It's a shocking revelation.
Whoa. Attended course, serial number, blah, 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 at joint something of chemical warfare. Chemical warfare. In Salisbury, there was some big government... it was called something. It was linked into America as well. They did it in Canada too. And they took soldiers and they tested them with weapons to see if they could survive. I'm totally shocked. I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what to say.
And as the boys continue to journey into their grandfather's past, it turns out it's not the only one.
We were given LSD. We went on a trip that evening. The following day, we had Mustard gas.
Heir hunters track down thousands of rightful beneficiaries every year, but not all cases are cracked. There are thousands of estates on the Treasury's unclaimed list that have eluded the heir hunters and remain unsolved. And every week, more names are published. If you want to know if you could be in line to inherit an unclaimed estate, go to www.gov.uk and search for Bonavacantia and click on Unclaimed Estates lists. Do you recognise a name on the list? Could it be a long-lost family member? If so, you could be in line for a windfall. As well as the deceased person's name, there will be other bits of information on the list that can help you work out a family connection. For example, the year of their birth. Often the town they were born in and the place of death is published. Sometimes details of their spouse and the place of their marriage are given. All of this can give you clues to a long-lost relative and a potential claim of inheritance. If an estate is left unclaimed for 12 years, all the money left behind will eventually go into government funds. Case manager Mike Powell and his research team have been on the hunt for heirs to caring foster mum Val Gaines' estate. Val had been a maths and English teacher, but her passion was cats. She was a well-known breeder and judge.
In 1978, one of her cats, which she bred and owned, actually became the first foreign lilac champion, which was quite an achievement.
Val's fame within the cat breeding world dramatically increased when she was awarded a Guinness World Record.
In 1970, one of her cats, a brown Burmese, gave birth to the largest litter ever recorded from a domestic cat. And in the litter, there were 19 kittens. Now, 9 kittens is pretty large for a pedigree cat, but 19 is just simply amazing.
Val spent many years travelling the world as an expert cat judge and champion exhibitor. But however busy she was sure to make time for her foster son Robin and his family.
She was always there if I wanted her, and we'd have good discussions. And she was never static in one place. She was always on the go somewhere or other, whether it be with her cats moving around or teaching.
It's now just under a week since Mike and the team first started on the case, and they've been waiting for a copy of Val's birth certificate to come through. They've had to order it by post, as, with an estate of unconfirmed value, sending someone to Prestwich to collect it in person has not been worth it.
We got the certificate back and it said that the father was called William Edward Gout Roger, which tied in with what we'd found out the previous day. Her mother was a lady called Phyllis Kate Frieda Finch.
Using this info, they've also been able to establish that Val was an only child. This means they now need to find any possible aunts and uncles on both her father and mother's side of the family. Using the 1911 census, they've tracked down the family of Val's father, William, and made a surprising discovery. It turns out that before he became an actor, he was employed as a bioscope operator, and his whole family were involved in the picture entertainment industry. The film industry was gathering pace in the 1900s, and a bioscope was not only an early film projector, but it was also the word then used for cameras, and even for the cinema itself. The first films that William would have shown were unlike any other entertainment of the day, and were put on as an extra turn in music halls.
What you saw on the screen were really quite short films, no more than a minute long, and you might see several sort of actualities, as you might call them, like a train coming into a station or a road with people going along it. They were just very simple one-shot setups, and you saw a string of those, and that was the cinematograph, a great novelty of the time, because pictures suddenly were moving on the screen. How exciting is that?
People were astonished by these moving pictures, and the excitement spread across the country. Cinemas sprung up very quickly, directed at the working population of the area, and by about 1914, there were nearly 4,000 of them.
Some of the cinemas put on matinees for children, and children would come along, and I've seen a film with them outside a cinema, all queuing up to see films in the afternoon.
As a bioscope operator or projectionist, William would have had his work cut out, keeping the audiences entertained. Each spool was 1,000 feet long.
You have to turn it about that speed to get the film running at the correctly on the screen.
But he wouldn't have been the only one keeping busy. Spare a thought for the musicians who had to accompany every film.
There's a story by a pianist called Ursula Blum who used to play during the films, saying that the rowdy youths used to sit at the front and they used to shout and sing to her music sometimes, so she would change the music to try and shut them up. They just had to make up the music as they went along, possibly playing all day, all the afternoon and all the evening for 6 days a week. I know one woman who did this, and she used to say, oh, I used to pray for God Save the King at the end, because that was the last thing she had to play as everyone went out.
According to the 1911 census, Val's mother was also employed in the entertainment industry. Her career at that time was listed as a vocalist.
Some of the cinemas had a stage because there would be acts as well as films, and that was quite common. The operator of the projectionist would have nothing to do while the acts were on, so he'd just watch on the stage, and of course he might be taken in by one of the lovely lady singers, you never know. Love might blossom.
Whether Val's parents fell in love in the cinema seats or not, Mike and the team have made an important discovery. Val's father had been married before, but he wasn't the only one.
She had also been married before to a gentleman called Cecil Moon. So it was all a bit confusing with multiple marriages. So we had to follow that through and then discovered a half-brother of the deceased.
The team have found out that Val's father had no children before Val, but her mother's first marriage had produced a son, also called Cecil.
We followed down the birth of the son from the mother of the deceased first marriage, a gentleman called Cecil Dennis Moon. Found out he married a lady called Maisie Swain in Hendon in 1938. It looked like they had one child, a David John Moon.
David passed away in 1969, so his share of Val's estimated £3,000 estate now passes to 3 heirs on his line. 1 son and 2 granddaughters, one of whom is Stephanie Moon.
When I was first contacted, I was really surprised. It was a big shock to me. I wasn't expecting it. And in all honesty, I thought it was a con. I was sad to hear that Val had passed away because we didn't know her. We didn't know anything about her, what happened, if she even had a nice send-off. It's made me want to find out more about family tree, sort of what kind of person she was.
The last thing we ever want to hear is that the deceased was alone, lived by themselves, didn't know anyone. This is very different with Val. She had a very close, very deep community of friends around her. So that's very, very good news and very reassuring for her family.
Despite the tricky start to the case, the team's persistence has finally paid off. But for Robin, Val's foster son, she's left a legacy of a very different kind.
My lasting memories of Val, she gave me a chance in life. She was good to me. She helped me. She looked after my family, my wife and my 3 boys. She had a heart of gold.
Former military man Arthur Lupton Wheeler lived in this Bristol flat for over 20 years, until he died in 2011. His best friend and longtime neighbour was Ernest Grace, who knew him as Jerry.
One day, a knock on the door, and he said, "I'm Jerry, next door neighbour." Within a quarter of an hour, we were sharing a pint down the pub. We was talking like we'd known each other for years.
Jerry and Ernest soon became firm drinking buddies, often enjoying each other's company at the local sports club.
He was very charismatic, and he's a likeable chap. And in a lot of ways, he was a lovable person to know. It was like losing one of my family. Broke my heart when he went on. He was a good mate, and I do miss him.
But Ernest isn't the only one who has been left reeling since Arthur's death. After being contacted by the heir hunters, Arthur's grandsons have been discovering all about their grandfather, who was never mentioned by the family, and they've uncovered something unusual.
No, it says exposed to a CW agent. This is chemical weapons agent. Why would he have volunteered to go to Salisbury to take part in some chemical weapons testing?
Was it necessarily volunteered?
It's very difficult to understand.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I knew that there were programs in the military for harnessing the power of chemical weapons. But to know that our grandfather was part of this, or knowingly or unknowingly.
In fact, Arthur was involved in one of the most shocking and infamous scientific military experiments, carried out in one of the darker chapters in British military history. Salisbury Plain has long held a deadly secret. It's home to the oldest chemical warfare research facility in the world.
Porton Down was founded in 1916 during the First World War, and it was a response really to the Germans first using chemical weapons.
As well as creating gases for warfare, the scientists were also developing defences against chemical weapons, such as gas masks and rubber suits. In order to find out just how effective these poisons could be, they were tested on men and women serving in the armed forces.
Porton, during its time, has tested thousands of chemicals on the human guinea pigs. Sometimes the men were sent into gas chambers, and that's the only word for them, filled with tear gas or nerve gas. The scientists would be sitting behind glass windows, looking in, watching what the effect on the men would be. At other times, the men would have a mustard gas dropped on their arms, and they would see how the gas burnt and blistered the human skin.
During its 70-year history, Porton Down has tested chemicals on an estimated 30,000 servicemen and women, including Mark and Mikey's grandfather, Arthur.
November 1948, which was only 2 years after he had enlisted, he was exposed to a CW agent. With no way of knowing what kind of effect that would have psychologically
this for me,
on everything else.
This is out of everything that's presented to us on this table at the moment. That's the gold. This is James Bond stuff.
Desperate to find out more, they're meeting up with Porton Down veteran Eric Gow.
So, why would our grandfather have gone there?
Well, what happened in those days was I saw a notice with 3 other lads in our billet in Devonport, and it said Porton Down, that it was to find the cure for the common cold, and there was some physiological tests, but nothing dangerous. And we decided to go because it was a free weekend's pass. Now, when we got there, we had to sign the Secrets Act as soon as we arrived, which, you know, seemed a bit peculiar to do that when you're looking for the common cold. And we were given something to drink, which turned out later we found out was LSD. Almost immediately, the large iron radiator behind his desk started to go squeeze in and out, just like an accordion. And then the heel marks on the floor, which it was winter, so there was plenty of foot marks, they were spinning round like Catherine wheels. The next thing I remember was sitting in the canteen that evening, and he was saying, "Can you see that packet of Daz moving along the back of, you know, behind the bar?"
He was obviously feeling the effect.
We went on a trip that evening.
Yeah.
Then we had, the following day, we had mustard gas.
The following day after?
Yeah. And then we bared our arms. Then he drew 4 squares, about 1-inch squares, and he started dropping it. So he dropped the spot on this one, on this one, this one, and this one. He used water and a cloth to rub one. He dry rubbed another. Then he'd put a bit of cream on another one, and another bit of another cream. That's correct. Only they don't like that term.
I can imagine why.
The effects of those were, it was like a sort of burning, you know, a nettle sting.
Yeah, sure.
That sort of thing. Like that. But the actual scars, the skin, discoloured slightly. It was a slight brown in colour. And that was with me every time for well over.
Do you still have it?
50, 60. Just there was a discoloration all the time. They stayed there, and every time you had a wash, you saw them. It was just a reminder, constant reminder of what had happened, you know. I never forgot that. But I think your grandfather would have gone through the same procedure.
Mustard gas was widely tested, but there were other experiments taking place.
They were in the 50s testing sarin gas. If your grandfather was probably, if you could call it lucky, if he had the mustard gas, because sarin gas is about 500 times more deadly than cyanide. They put it on to this young RAF lad, 20, and he was dead within 45 minutes.
Leading aircraftman Ronald Madison died on the 6th of May 1953. The official verdict was death by misadventure. His family never received an apology or an explanation as to why he underwent the experiment.
His death was kept in secret for over 51 years. 10 years ago, next month, there was the inquest reopened from 53, but done in complete openness. And it took place in this court. We were here for 6 months, and the jury came back with a verdict of unlawful killing, which, for the members of the Porton Down support group, was a great decision, because it meant it opened the way for us to have a go at the MOD for what was an assault on the bodies of young men without their proper consent, because they didn't know what was happening.
So this was closure for you, though, as well? It was a real closure, yeah.
Because when the jury came back, after 5 hours only, after they came out and brought a verdict of unlawful killing, that, to me, was so emotional. It's still emotional today.
In 2006, the court case victory resulted in a settlement of £100,000 to the Madison family for Ronald's death. And in 2008, approximately £8,000 each was awarded to the 360 victims of the Porton Down experiments, many of whom still feel the psychological and physical scars of their experiences today.
I think both of us do feel very lucky to have actually had this information presented to us today in this way.
We found out the hard facts, that the evidence of his military career can present to us, but there's a lot of soft stuff in there that we still don't know yet. I would like to know how similar he is to us, how much of our characteristics and traits and what defines us as a family. If I met him, would I like him? Would I even want to know him?
Let's see.
Mark and Mikey's journey isn't over. They're meeting up with Ernest, their grandfather's closest friend.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Mark.
Mark.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mikey.
To find out what he was really like.
He was a true gentleman, always game for a laugh. He used to get me in a lot of trouble.
Ernie is keen to give his old friend's grandsons a fitting memento.
This was his, yeah?
Yeah, but this is his club one.
Ernie, can you explain why it says Tweedledee on the thing? What does Tweedledee
The barmaids used to call Jerry Tweedledee, and me was Tweedledum.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Because I was getting blamed for everything, you see.
Although Arthur had talked very little about his family over the years, Ernie is in no doubt as to how he would have felt about his grandsons.
To have you two lads.
We have another brother too. There's 3 of us.
3?
Yeah.
Oh, he'd be over the moon. Yes, he'd be so proud. So proud. Yeah.
For the boys, hearing Ernie's tales of their grandfather has brought unexpected emotions to the surface.
In place of actually meeting our grandfather himself, this was, I think for us, the next best thing. It was like meeting family.
We actually got to find out what he was actually like.
Sounded like he was a real good guy.
He was.
And this makes us, I think, really happy to have found, very emotional. And this gift from Ernie is
that's awesome.
Unbelievable.
Although it turns out that Arthur's estate was worth very little in monetary terms, potentially as little as £500, for Mark and Mikey, getting to know their grandfather, who was once lost to them, is absolutely priceless.
We feel much closer to our grandfather, Arthur Lupton Wheeler, who became Jerry Lupton Wheeler. Lived and died in Bristol.
Just a stars in